Hey everybody, we're back with another TV show spoiler review, and today I will be covering season 1 of My Hero Academia. Before we continue, please uh, do me a great favor and like this video, hit the notification bell, follow me on links in the description. If you like content like this and my other reviews on movies, comics, uh, other TV shows, as well as my video game walkthroughs, you can definitely check it out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Uh, anyway, yeah, I've been selling this for a while. And I've been eager to rewatch My Hero Academia. I know recently there was like a new season, but like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which the Stone Ocean arc, I avoided that even though it came out earlier in the summer this year. I avoided that until I caught up. So I'll be coming in. That'll be my next review coming up. So once I binge watch that, because I'll be coming in fresh. I've never seen it before. I've seen pictures of the characters before, but no more than that. So look forward to that coming in fresh. So with the latest season of My Hero Academia, when I eventually get to that, I'll be coming in relatively fresh for that. Anyway, uh, um, I remember watching, like, just completely binge watching this series up to the point of wherever I caught up to in its completion of the time, somewhere in like 2019 or 2020, one of those years, where I checked it out, and I instantly love it. This is set. The creator is a huge Star Wars fan. This is some uh little moments that's kind of harkens to Star Wars. There's a city district that's called Tatooine, I think. I'm pretty sure it's Tatooine. And there's a training montage where it's kind of reminiscent to like Luke carrying Yoda. There is even one of the little supporting characters that's very reminiscent to Luke Skywalker wearing the all white clothing in The New Hope. So uh, I was a huge fan. I kind of respect, not kind of, I definitely respect the hell out of that. It wasn't too over the top. It's just like subtle hints sprinkled here and there where if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll instantly catch that. Some obvious, some not so obvious. Uh, but we follow this story of uh, 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 Izu Midoriya, aka Deku, who lives in a world where it's pretty much like almost like any superhero related content, where it's like either Marvel or DC, where it's just like superhero. There's like a portion of the population that has superpowers. Uh, I don't know if it's like very specific on when it sprung up, because it's been like at least at least maybe like 4 5 maybe decades of people with they don't call it abilities or power. Well, they like to call their powers just quirks. And it's kind of like mutants. Instead of being hunted and feared, they're just like all the rage kind of situation. And over time, it's become like a almost like a regulation, like a more proper superhuman registration act, rather than just like forcing people to register. There's like It's kind of like a combination of that and uh the Xavier School uh, of gifted youngsters. It's called UA, but it's not the only school. There's a My Hero Academia movie where it's established there's other schools in different parts of the countries, uh, but UA is the most famous one in Japan. And what it does is uh, you have old school superheroes as teachers, given class on different aspects of what being a superhero would entail, which is I thought was super ingenious. I mean, it's like Xavier School was, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a failure, but it's just like if they had like the funding and wasn't being hunted, I'm pretty sure it'd become like a bigger establishment like UA, where you have superheroes who've been through it all, or even have been taught themselves and became teachers later, all teaching things, different facets of what you see in like comic books, what they probably would deal with, like hostage situations, uh, emergency services, disaster scenarios, uh, like doing like floods or fires. And you right in the pilot there is like this hero who's got these kind of like water. Some of the quirks are cool, but some are just dumb, odd looking, just to be, just for the artist to be weird with certain things. Like there's a classroom with a guy with a balloon head and a guy who got stretchy eyeballs. Like, why is that freaking useful at all? Um, I guess one can float and the other can like see further or a different height, maybe. I don't know, but they, I guess, no matter what the quirk, you can find a particular fit for a particular thing. Not it's no quirk is useless. You just got to find the proper fit that will make the quirk useful in an aspect. Like this firefighter type of character, you know, you know, uh, make this kind of like water, douses the flames with his kind of water hose arms kind of thing, or even make a blockade to keep the civilians out. That's another thing. It's like, uh, you know, the primary, what it means to be a hero is above all else keeping the citizens safe. That's the top priority before even dealing with any villains. And some become, some people of course become heroes, and some prefer to like become villains. Um, and the thing is, they, most people have grown so accustomed for like what it means to be a hero. It means you gotta have some kind of power. If you don't have any power, then you're not very useful. Especially when you're dealing with a villain, and it's kind of like, wow, it's just like Batman, the Bat Family, or Green Arrow and his supporting cast probably would not be like a good fit here, or at least wouldn't be respected, even though they can probably dominate just as much as almost any of these people here. Uh, which is kind of insane. I'm not sure, as much as I caught up to years ago, I'm hard pressed to find anybody who fits in that category of Batman, Iron Man esque type of hero. It's kind of like, at least in One Punch Man, there are heroes that got like mech suits at the very least, or something that they can uh, do to help their fellow man. And some, and I think some people are always trying to attribute like the show The Boys as like, oh, or Invincible as like, oh, that's the realistic, if superheroes existed in real life, that's what it'd be like. And I respectfully disagree. Now, I think My Hero Academia is, and maybe a little bit of the MCU, I think is the most realistic, uh, like depiction of what like heroes would be like, or people with powers would be like in realistic standards. Uh, because yeah, in The Boys there are a lot of heroes that use their powers for like monetary gain, like endorsement deals and all this other BS. Uh, but they're selfless assholes. Most of them are. But My Hero Academia, you still get that capitalistic kind of thing. It was like there's one uh hero. I'm not sure if it was Mount Lady or some other female who uh is like a supermodel, but she's still like a hero that still go out there and save people. It's like you don't have to necessarily. It's like Johnny Storm. It was like you don't have to, be a selfish jerk. Uh, uh, and nobody's gonna frown upon you capitalizing it on some way, shape, or form. I think, at least I think, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it doesn't like hinder your, you know, uh, ability to do your job as a superhero and help people. Uh, there's one character named Eraserhead who's like a cool ass superhero who doesn't look to kind of like uh, heroes like using their like status uh, as heroes to profit or whatever. Uh, but then there's this number one hero called All Might, who's pretty much like almost like the Superman of this world, except he doesn't fly or shoot lasers out of his eyes, or he just in terms of like super strength, uh, not like super speed, but he got like powerful muscles that he can push himself forward to crazy speeds just by the strength of his legs. And he has this power called uh, One for All, and it's a power that can be passed down from one successor to another. And in later seasons, you would start to understand a little bit more about the origin of One for All, and it's freaking cool. But we'll wait till later to get into that. But uh, All Might is like it's supposed to be like the symbol of peace. Every time he sets foot in an area, everybody goes crazy, and he just like almost dominates any fight and beat the bad guys and make sure they get brought to justice. But then the most of the time the narrator is Deku, who just like I think I relate to Deku so freaking much. Deku is one people who are quirkless, but he looks up to All Might. It's a kind of funny joke where All Might calls him a fanboy. But the one thing I cannot stand with Deku right now, he's almost always in freaking tears. Later seasons, they kind of die that down quite a bit, which I'm glad because it was like it got weird, and it's like, oh, you're 15 years old and you're sensitive, but it's like I get it, but it's like gotta tone that down a bit. But he's very idealistic. He looks up to All Might. He wants to be a hero, even though he has no quirk. But he wants to go to UA and prove himself. But everybody's dogging on him, more so with this character Bakugo. I want to lay this out now, because like Deku and then Bakugo is on my list of characters I want to do anime psychology videos on. It's gonna be a while, but these two I want to like make sure I put on the list, because Bakugo especially, this dude is like, that's like the main reason why we have anti-bullying kind of thing going on in the past several years, because this dude, like, he's got like a huge attitude problem, and like from what I hear from other people who are fans of this show, loves Bakugo, to the they attributed him like he's the Vegeta of the show, and like, no, this dude's a fucking creep, and yeah, I mean, Vegeta can be a dick, but he would never tell Goku to go kill himself, which this boy does to Deku. He almost like he constantly picks on him, he shoves him around, and he's almost like very threatening, to the point this dude, like, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but this dude, almost seems like he almost got like murderous intent. I think, like, of course, this, eased up later in the seasons, but it's like this dude is, I don't even care. I almost never hate a character, especially a supporting character, this much as I do with Bakugo. This dude, need his, like one of those kind of examples of people that need to humble the friggin' selves. But he wants to be like a hero like All Might. He kind of looks up to All Might as well, but he always seems like he got like a freaking chip on his shoulder. But this dude almost gets so riled up when it comes to Deku for some, and he calls him Deku, which I guess in Japanese it can mean in two different ways. I forgot the specifics, but it's kind of like in the terms of how Bakugo puts it, calls Midoriya Deku as in term of an insult being useless, while another character, Ravity, attributes that as useful. So that's where like he's keeps, it's kind of like taking ownership of, I need to write that down too. I'm just now thinking about it because taking ownership. It's kind of like black people taking back the N word, or things of that nature. Taking back something that's supposed to have been like an insult or a symbol of hate or something like that, and make it your own. So Midoriya, he's a very smart person. He could easily have been like the Batman of the show, but he got all these notebooks. He's respects and admires all these heroes, but All Might more so. And he was standing by as like Mount Lady and a couple other heroes were taking down this criminal, and he started writing the notes about like Mount Lady who can grow in size, and it's like, oh, like she can be very useful in a battle, but it's like in enclosed spaces in a cityscape, she has to constantly monitor what she's doing, because in each step could be like property damage and blah blah blah. And he almost mutters to himself, and people have to tell him to calm down. One day this slime monster ends up try to rob from a bank, and he collided uh, Midoriya, but All Might happens to be there, steps in, and uh, takes down this sludge monster, and contains him somehow in these two soda pop bottles. And Midoriya just ends up hanging on because he really wants to speak to All Might, because he wants to ask him a question that only he thinks All Might can give him the answers to. Can he be a hero without any quirk? And All Might, in the process, All Might reverse, because he has, he's big and almost 7 feet tall, and got all these, and he's got not cartoonish large muscles, but like just like a very big muscular guy. It's almost like The Rock in a way, and maybe slightly even bigger. And he reverts back to this skinny form, and he almost coughing up blood, almost, which is almost like comedic in a way. And this shocked Midoriya, and All Might just explains to Deku, like, why he looks like that. He lifts up his shirt and shows him this kind of horrific injury that he has on the side of his body, where he was in this major battle 5 years ago that nearly killed him, and because of the injury, he can only sustain his power for like 3 hours a day. He explains to Deku, honestly, that if you don't have a quirk, then I don't see any way for you to be like a hero. But don't get too discouraged. You can still be like a firefighter or a police officer. They're still noble jobs. But it's okay to have dreams, but make sure they're realistic and attainable. And this kind of puts Deku in like a sad state, because I guess he wanted to hear something else, at least something more inspiring, or I guess a little bit more hopeful from his hero. But in the process, the sludge monster ends up getting loose and kidnapping Bakugo along the way of trying to escape. All Might, already reaching a limit for the day, tries, he wants to stop him, but he's worried about, if he goes back to his superhero state, it might burn out too quickly, and he doesn't, because only Midoriya, like several of the UA teachers and the principal, a nurse, and one cop, or like at least a lead detective in Japan, as the only, like, he's kind of like the Commissioner Gordon. He shows up at the tail end of the season, and he states to Deku that besides him, they're the only ones that actually know his secret. Because if the public knew that, their symbol of peace didn't inherent, like, didn't like, because people, of course, like I said, is like mutants, and once they get to a certain age, they manifest. He inherited his powers. Like Deku, he didn't have any powers. His one for all powers was handed down to him by his mentor, and a she from her mentor, and so on up to the point of the original one for all. And slight spoiler into season 2, it's pretty much like the original one for all had this quirk that he didn't know he had. Is very, it's one of those kind of like bottom of the barrel. I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but it's kind of like powers you don't know they're not as flashy or like obvious until something occurs that that kind of clicks with you. His power was called stockpile, and uh uh you'll get further into details in the I'm pretty sure in the next some point in the next season, but he passed down whatever unique power he had, adds to the stockpile, and he ends up passing it to a person he deemed as like a true successor, a hero with a good a good heart and everything like that, and sometimes it doesn't matter if they had like a quirk themselves or not. You can uh, you just gotta give your DNA to the successor, and you gotta willingly do it in order for it to work. And they gotta eat a piece of your DNA, which could be like a strand of hair, and it takes a few hours, but then the powers will start to merge with the next person's DNA, and but you have to make sure you first train your body to be able to handle the merging, because without proper training before you take on the DNA, as All Might puts it, your limbs will start can't handle that amounts of power, and your limbs will end up bursting apart. Um, so All Might standing by, worrying about what the onlookers might see if things go awry and his secret gets out. Deku, despite being quirkless, jumps in to save his own bully, and from a sludge monster who he knows he had no shot in stopping. And there's a couple of the heroes around, but their powers are not suited to deal with this particular thing. They have to pretty much stand by while this creature's holding hostage and waiting for other heroes who might be able to, land a hand that can properly combat this thing. Because if you might have a power, like, one of the other heroes that's there also have super strength, not on the same level as All Might, but even still, it's not enough to punch through a goop monster, so it's completely useless. Uh, so with looking on to Deku, who just without thinking just jumps in to help, All Might just gets inspired, and it's like and he just like F it, and then pushes beyond the limit for his limit for the day, and just uses he has unique abilities. He kind of like typical in an anime. Of course, you gotta name your moves, and what's kind of cool is that because you might know this in I'm not sure in the series, but I know in a movie he mentions how he traveled abroad in his younger days to study in the United States on like for more learning to be a hero, and most of his moves are named after places of the United States. Like he got the Delaware Smash, Carolina Smash, New Hampshire Smash, Texas Smash. I kind of wish he had like a Chicago Smash or Illinois Smash or something like that. And it's like very powerful force. And his ultimate move is the United States Smash. This is like the biggest move he lands is cause like just huge devastation. It's like very powerful, awesome as hell. But he didn't use that. He uses just one of his smashes, but it causes it breaks apart this goop monster because it turns it into like this massive tornado that literally changes the weather and started making it rain. That's how powerful he punched that thing without damaging anybody, at the same time without damaging the Bakugo or Deku or any of the bystanders. Then All Might shows up in front of Deku's house and tells him like, what he saw from him is a mark of a true hero. You even stepped up where I was just worrying about myself on the sidelines, and you stepped up despite having no quirk. And he decides, okay, I've been on the look for a proper successor for a while, and I think I see it in you. So he ends like, well, he starts training Deku. This is where it comes with the whole, Luke and Yoda thing, and starting to train Deku. And before he starts applying to UA, he has like a year to get ready before the school year starts. So he trains, he gets super ripped, and then he gives Deku his strand of hair. And so he gets to the UA school, despite Bakugo being like a complete dipshit, because like you was quirkless last time I saw you, and all of a sudden now you got all this power. He gets so angry about it. But the characters he meets along the way, we go over the teachers. We got Nezu, this dog mouth's principal. Yeah, there's some characters are just straight up like, at least a couple of characters are straight up just anthropomorphic animals. We got Nezu, the principal. Recovery Girl was the nurse whose kisses can heal you, but it drains your stamina in the process. Well, not her stamina, the person she's healing stamina, depending on the injury. Got 13, who looks like she's wearing some kind of spacesuit, but has powers to make black holes to suck things in. You got Eraserhead, who has the power to cancel out powers just by looking at you, but he also kind of like the Kakashi of the show, from like Kakashi from Naruto. He's kind of like the Kakashi, and he got this crazy martial arts and this seemingly magic scarf they can use to wrap people up. We got President Mike, who has a got like a voice box around his collar. He's kind of like the MC in some aspects of the series. And he got like he has his voice is so powerful. He got this little mechanism around his throat just to focus it, and he just like starts blasting people, kind of like Black Canary in a way. Is powerful screams, like Black Canary mixed with like Black Bolt. Cementos, who creates like controls like rock. Then you got the students that you meet so far. Yoga Ayama, who has this kind of like a naval laser thing. He shoots a beam of sparkly lasers through his belly button. You got Mina Ashido, who creates acid slime through her. I don't know if it's like comes through her pores of the body or just through her hands. Then you got Asui, who we know as Floppy, who kind of has this like frog-like kind of abilities with even like a 20 feet long with a tongue that can stretch out to 20 feet. She can hop really good and cling to walls. And there's been tons of hentai about this chick. A lot of people love Asui. You got Tenya Ida, who comes from a family of heroes, but they all pretty much got the same kind of power, which is kind of like super speed, but there's jet engines on their calves, or just like their back lower legs. That gives them like kind of amazing speed. Then you got Uraraka, who can manipulate gravity by touching people and holding her breath, but if she uses it too much, she ends up puking. Then you got the Luke Skywalker, the show, Mashiro, who just got this uh, massive tail behind him that he can use in like uh, incorporate in his martial arts. You got Denki Kaminari, who controls electricity, but he uses too much. He gets kind of dumb for a little bit. You got Kirishima, who can change his body into this rock-like state, kind of like Benjamin Grimm from the Fantastic Four. Uh, you got Koji Koda, who I don't know what the hell kind of design this character is, but he can speak to animals. Uh, and I want to say control them, but he can get them to help him in battle sometimes. You got Saito, who gets super strong the more sugar he eats. You got Mezzo, who has these tentacle appendages that can morph into different types of body parts they can use for long range communication sometimes, or one of the tentacles can turn to an eyeball where you can help him see further. So he got that kind of skill set. You got Kyoka, who has these earlobes that she can listen afar, but she also has the sound manipulation through her lower legs that she can blast out. You got Henta Zero, who has tape elbows that he used to wrap up people and tape things up. They're very strong. So then you got like I said, there's some anthropomorphic type of characters here in the show. You got Tokuyami, who has this crow-like head, but he has this shadow creature that he can manipulate, but it's best not to have too much sunlight to otherwise he has less power. Then you got one of the most impressive characters in this show, Shoto Todoroki, who has the power of hot and cold. There's a lot with him. This show has a lot of people with a hell of a lot of trauma, but we'll get into that down the line. Then you got Toru Hakakuri, who has ability of invisibility. I won't say you never. I just personally at this point in time, I never seen what this. I kind of want to leave it as at least until I see the latest season. Maybe I'll see what she really looks like then. But I want to keep it as not spoiling myself and try to look it up if you know what I mean. I just got the names posted so that way I don't mess it up. You got Bakugo, who got explosion powers. You got Minoru Minata, who has these purple balls he plops off his head to use as get stockpiled to make it something like a raft or provide some kind of cushion, or it sticks to almost any other surface but him. But he's also a huge pervert as well. But if he plops out too many balls off the top of his head, his scalp starts to bleed. Then you got Momo Yaoyorozu, who has the ability of creation. She can pull almost any inorganic object from her body as long as she knows the composition of it. So unlike most other anime, I would say not all anime does this, but I think this is the most impressive anime that all through the seasons that I've seen so far highlights gives proper time to each of these characters, where their life for the most part. I don't want to say everybody, but at least 90% of them. Their home life, what they do personally. It's because they used to do that with Naruto, but up until maybe the last, even halfway through Shippuden, I used to say, or at least the bulk of Shippuden, at some point they stopped focusing on other characters I know you got filler, but it ain't as hype as as like My Hero Academia, for example. It's like you might get like a episode dedicated to like uh uh 1010, for example, but it's just like, oh, she's you don't really know her life. You just like, it's like, oh, she's helping delivering packages for people for the thing. Is I don't know. It's just like you take something like uh uh I don't even know you can call it filler or not, but let's just for the sake of argument call it filler. You can have like, no, here is, you can have a 2 episodes dedicated to Minato and why he is what he is, what his home life is, what his struggles are, so you can have a deep appreciation for him overall in the entire series. And when you have he shows up and or something bad happens to him, you feel bad, that kind of thing. They don't have something like that with like 1010 or well, they had it in like early stages in like Naruto up until the point of Shippuden, where it's like you got these, you know, episodes, dedicated. They try to make it dedicated to some characters, but it's like you don't feel nothing. It's just kind of like a bland ass story, and you just like you're just waiting until you get to the good parts with Naruto and Sasuke, because where like the energy is pretty much being drawn to. Uh, I wouldn't say all anime does this, but like I think My Hero Academia is like right on the top of the list of know how to highlight uh, supporting characters to make them feel like they can easily be main characters. And I think that's very, very impressive. I love this show for that. Uh, um, so Deku meets all these people, and he's starting to learn through these teachers. He got the homeroom teacher Eraserhead, was too much to All dismay, because kind of like with Kakashi, in the previous year class, he literally uh 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 I want to say was not expelled, but pretty much like failed the entire class because they didn't meet his insane criterias. Of course, this class happens to be the ones to not get through that mess. So they all make it in, and throughout Deku's learning, through because there's different courses here, all through the second half of the season, Deku is trying to learn how to properly control this mighty power, because every time he uses it, he ends up breaking his fingers or his legs or one of his arms, and he constantly always being in the infirmary. And the Eraserhead has to explain to him like, yo, you made it this far, but you got to learn how to control your powers. There's no wanting excuses, because they're pretty much like being indoctrinated. I won't say indoctrinated, but they're enlisting in like a form of I won't say an army, but it's like you're going through like basically basic training. You got to learn how to, you're going to be in life or death situations, and you cannot have your powers be a detriment than an asset. And you see, little by little, probably until the end of the next season, where Deku learns how to mitigate that a bit, and then it gets more progressively more manageable in the later seasons. But I'm glad of that, because you actually spend a significant amount of time him learning in increments, rather than the whole Goku route, where it's like, oh, he's trained himself for 3 to 5 days in hyperbolic time chamber, then boom, he's out, and now he's like Super Saiyan 3. It's like, no. He's got to put in the work, and we got to go through this long process along with him. And it's not a long, boring process. This is like a process where it's like there's stakes involved, and you're learning along with them. And and it's like the character is just so uh charismatic, and you feel for him, because it's like Deku is almost anybody. He wants to uh be a hero. He wants to help. He wants to uh be better, and like we all can relate to that. We all want to be better than what we were, and make a difference in the world. uh But then towards the end of the season, through one of the other courses. Oh, before we get to that, there's another course where All Might is instructing, and it's pretty much like learning, like you see in almost any superhero related content. There's a bomb, and two villains are threatened to might be blowing up to cause devastation, and you got a couple of heroes trying to stop it. They drew names. Uh, uh, Deku and Gravity are playing Team Hero, while uh, Tenya and Bakugo are Team Villain, and people are like this Team Hero, Team Villains, and Team Villains has to stay inside this building, and stay and try to keep the heroes from uh or touching that fake bomb, either by capturing them or knocking them out. And the heroes has to win by either capturing the villains or touching the bomb. Uh, and they have to treat this like it's a real scenario. Well, Bakugo, being a complete bully and a complete ass, he just like went out of his way to ignore what the tests are so he can just get his pound of flesh for no reason off of Deku. And and Deku, and it's like the other students and All Might is looking onto the TV screens, and like they all starting to notice like this kid's probably going to actually try to kill Deku. Like, All Might, you gotta go step in. Like, yes, go in there and fucking step in. This kid's going to literally kill this other kid. And but thanks to Deku's quick thinking, he stopped short of punching the hell out of Bakugo and aimed skyward to cause this big hole in the building to allow Gravity to fly over and touch the bomb, which caused them to Team Hero to win this scenario. But with what was the creation girl? Momo explained to All Might, because he like, can anyone explain what was the purpose of this, and who really won, or who's at fault, blah blah blah. She explains, because she's very quick witted, that only Tenya treated this. I won't say he was like the only one that passed or passed at all, but he's like, he was the only one that treated this scenario with any seriously, because that was the whole purpose of this whole test. He acted like a villain. He stood by the bomb. He did everything he could to make sure that Gravity stays away from him, while Bakugo ignored the entire thing just to take on Deku for kind of personal grudge, while Deku, like, I forgot what she said what Deku did, and then Gravity what these two did, but pretty much none of these three focus on the purpose of the match, but Tenya. Uh, but then, while everybody at this point is at the last stage of the course, that's when because it's like a disaster area test where this big field where these domes each with a different scenario of a disaster area, like a one for like fires and one for uh uh uh, uh, heavy storm, and the other for like a mudslide or a rock slide, uh, that kind of scenarios. But then, you know, because Eraserhead and the 13 was supposed to have All Might there, but he got sidetracked by, started saving people, even though at the time he uses powers is only limited to 3 hours and he's wasting it. I won't say he's wasting it, but he could just easily have called in other heroes to handle this, but he couldn't help himself, but start saving people. And these group of villains called the League of Villains but it's only like at least two primary ones are actually a real threat, while the rest are just a bunch of grunts. But there's uh this villain who's like the uh like he's like a villain. He's like a kind of like a fun villain, and his life is like, wow, tough. Hold on. You got Tomura Shigaraki. Those women's got like a power of decay. And then you have Kogorogi, who has a smoky kind of apparition of a body that can help teleport people from one area to another. And everybody else is pretty much like grunts. And they bring in this Nomu character, this like bird-like monstrosity with like his brain exposed, and he has like a power of regeneration and shock absorption. Taylor made in a lab to take on All Might, because Shigaraki, Tomura Shigaraki, I'm sorry, believes that All Might is weaker than he used to be. So this is our time. So of course he was dismayed that All Might wasn't there. But then the League of Villains started to like divide and conquer the students, and despite Eraserhead and 13's efforts, they took out a chunk of these grunts, but the Nomu was like really overpowered, like Eraserhead, and thanks to Deku's quick thinking, he managed to like nullify a chunk of grunts, and of course, like Shoto, thanks to his ice powers, he took down a whole large swath of bad guys, and Bakugo, eventually managed to take down Kagorogi because he realized, oh, you got this little neck bracelet. It shows that you actually have a physical body, and you just trying to cloud it with this mist. That's not going to work. And then eventually, All Might shows up and starts owning a lot of people until the Nomu steps in, and a little over 300 mighty blows, as All Might states that it took to finally beat this thing, because he, like Team Rocky, he blasted that thing off into the sky, and but in his heyday, he would have done all that within 5 blows. But throughout this whole entire thing, uh 13 convinces Tenya, because since he was the fastest, manages to give him the, him 13 and the others managed to give Tenya the space he needed to slip out the dome, because thanks to their own electrical guide to nullify communications so they can't call for help or sound any alarms, Tenya slips through in an epic fashion, because this dude has like some heroic moments of him himself. He slips through and finally came back with all these heroes, and just in the nick of time before All Might, his power starts dissipating. And luckily, like, the other, teachers managed to cover that up before any of the other students caught wind of that. But then, like, one of the heroes who looks like a cowboy just starts firing pop shots in, like, impressive accuracy, and shot Shigaraki in the arms and legs, and Kaguragi, like, and him, like, had to escape, leaving everybody else behind, and you'll learn that these two are working for even like a higher power. We'll learn more of that in the next season. Besides Deku, who managed to, even though he has like some broken bones, one of the punches he threw didn't cause him to break when Froppy was about to be disintegrated by Shigaraki, and you learn that more than likely when he saw somebody literally how like somebody's life was literally in danger, because unlike him using the power to knock back this machine that's about to inadvertently fall on your gravity in one of the tests earlier during the school, earlier in the school year, he knew there wasn't like a totally a serious threat, but maybe it's because when it's probably like psychological, where it's this is an actual real threat. These are real villains that was about to really kill somebody I care about. So it's like maybe it's like a psychological thing. I know it's like a better explanation of that, but it's pretty much in the same vein where this is not a test. So my body, my powers, my mind, my spirit, all that is in sync now, knowing that I gotta do whatever I can to stop this, damn the consequences. And like, even though no one blocked the hit from killing Shigaraki, it still was no drawback. The shock absorption prevented any really major damage, but it was still impressive. But then, like, of course, all the kids are safe. Eraserhead maybe is recovering in the infirmary, but by and large, everybody is alive and only with minor injuries. So now there's like a little bit more to the story, like who is the League of Villains working for, and we'll learn more about the One for All ability in the second season, and there's so much involved in this show that I thoroughly love. My Hero Academia is in my top 10 favorite animes I love. Not in my top 5, but can easily have been, but it's definitely in the top 10. I made a video. It's not in any, I don't know if it's any in the specific order, but everybody knows by now what are my top 5 favorite animes of all time. Pokemon number 1, Yu-Gi-Oh number 2, even though those two can easily alternate. Then you got Naruto. You got Bleach. So Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Naruto, Bleach, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Top 5. But My Hero Academia has to be like at least number 6. Is really up there. Of course, Dragon Ball Z is in the top 10, but unlike most other people, it's not tippy top. Uh, Mostly because I don't care for what they did with a lot of the supporting cast, making them seem like with Naruto, which happened later in his series, but it still happened. Where it's like you treated everybody else like eventually like chumps, while the primary focus is usually, if not the Saiyans in general, but just primarily with Goku and Vegeta to be the primary ones that have to come save the day, which is kind of shitty. After a bit, it gets kind of tiring, at least personally. I made a video about that, one of my earliest discussion videos, which you can check out on my YouTube channel. I forgot how it was titled, but if you can check out Talking of Carl, Dragon Ball Z, it's in one of the discussion videos. It's about pretty much why the supporting cast of Dragon Ball Z, it gets sidelined so hard, and it should not be, especially up to the point of how Super is organized. I figure by this point you would try to make somebody no, I don't expect Krillin or Yamcha or Tien to be able to take on Super Saiyan 4 or God form. But by this point in time, they should be well strong enough to at least go toe to toe with Super Saiyan 3. At the very least. But Yamcha, the way we knew him in Dragon Ball, he was pretty dope. Tien, dope. Krillin, dope. And it's like you gotta, let them, show off the fact that they can hold their own. They're not just jobber characters where they can just be like punching bags or just cannon fodder until Goku shows up. But anyway, I'm kind of off kilter here. But that's season 1 of My Hero Academia. Let me know what you guys think of the what season 1 about. If you seen the show, what you thought of season 1, who was your favorite character, who was your least favorite, because Bakugo is definitely my least favorite. Even though I've seen the other seasons before, I never cared for Bakugo. He's complete ass. Everything was wrong with bullying culture. But yeah, I love, aside from All Might and Deku, I love Ravity. I love Froppy. Eraserhead is really, really cool. So yeah, and of course Soto is a very, very dope character. And anyway, yeah. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys on the next TV show spoiler review. Is the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. I'm finally going to be able to watch that for the first time, and once I'm completed that, I will let you know what my thoughts are on that show and how it compares to the previous JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And after that, I'll get back to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D Season 2.